Today we are trying the regular breakfast here, which is just some eggs, bacon, sausage, hash browns, and toast. Let's give it a whirl. All right, so we made day 2 of this Commerce Classic $1 million guarantee. With a lot of chips, 700K, top 20-ish in chip stack, which is great. So right before we start, we are going to try, I've actually had this before, but I'll review this as if I haven't. I guess it's been a while since I've tried it. But regular old breakfast, Earned at Commerce, eggs, solid, hash browns, solid. Same ones you get with the steak and eggs. And by the way, something I haven't mentioned about the Commerce is that the food actually is really cheap here. So if you find like decent meals that you like, and there's a lot of good things on the menu, coming to the Commerce to eat can be a good money savings. So as an example, I think this breakfast is priced at $11.99, but then if you have your Commerce card, just get one of these Commerce players cards over at the players, whatever kind of desk. And basically you just get stuff for a discount. So this price at $11.99, got this for $9.99. I think the steak and eggs is actually $14.99. You get it for $9.99. Just show your card when you're getting your food and you get a nice discount. And this is a really solid breakfast for $9.99. So the sausage, you'll notice, is pretty big. Thick sausage, not like the really thin ones. Slightly on the salty side, but I think with all breakfast foods, a little bit of extra salt is expected. And the sausage is actually done, juicy. Sometimes some places dry out sausage, but the sausage is almost perfectly cooked. So kudos and very well done sausages. I actually asked for the eggs scrambled so that I can show you. Actually, I've never had the scrambled eggs here, so I'd like to review it, but you get it to me over easy, no big deal. So as you know, I can't break the egg, so we've kind of eaten around the yolk a bit, so now we're just gonna shove the whole thing in. Take a little bit of bread. Make it the wheat bread. As I mentioned in the steak and eggs video, there is glycemic load to consider when you're getting bread and pasta and stuff. So the nice thing about this breakfast too is it doesn't force you to choose between bacon and sausage. It actually just gives you both. So let's give the bacon a try. See, the bacon pieces look like real bacon, not some frozen, rehydrated bacon. Yeah, solid. Solid everything. I think a lot of the Commerce food is solid. At least the ones that you order fresh made. Like the stuff that you get out of that's sitting under the heat lamp aren't the best, but usually those are for people that are kind of on the go. But if you order off the regular menu, they got some really good stuff here. I'll be doing more reviews on some of the other dishes. So this is definitely the type of food that goes well with a cup of coffee. So that long log was really solid, but didn't go great with coffee. So day 1 of the Commerce Classic 1K, I actually ran really well. I haven't run sustained well for a really long time, like I mentioned. But yeah, it was getting really good. Actually, you know what? I wasn't getting great hands, but solid hands. But every time I made a big hand, like a set, I would get a lot of action. So I would end up playing a big pot every time I entered a pot, and I always kind of had it. And because of my image, I think I buy a little bit of I suppose reputational, a little bit of reputation for being a little bit overly aggressive. So I do get paid off sometimes, but I still think I try to mix in the right frequency of bluffs to value, then value. But overall, I think I pat myself on the back oh, I played amazingly well. I thought I played pretty well, but I ran pretty good on that day. I will admit that. I'm on my way to 700K. But even sort of a lot of the middle stages, I went really card dead and just sort of folded. ended up losing a decent chunk of my stack, getting close to the money bubble when here's the ace king, short stack jammed, then a small blind with about 2x short stack, probably had him covered by about 3x or 4x. He just flatted, and he's a pretty good like regular player. And actually instantaneously alarm bells went off, and I was just like, that's not good. He's not going to flat half his stack with nothing, so he probably has aces, but we can't always be seeing monsters under the bed. We do have ace and king. I suppose you could do that with queens, and I don't know, maybe he shoves jacks. When I kind of went back and thought it through, I feel like a lot of the hands that he's actually calling what they're going to be aces and kings, and maybe everything else either shoves or folds. Like I think shoves jacks, probably shoves queens, shoves ace king himself, but then he also shoves like, you know, ace queen, but he didn't shove it. So I made a mistake here and I broke the yoke on this one, so I'm really upset about this, but that's why we have emergency backup road. A mop up the egg. Bread and egg. It's a match made in heaven, so maybe I should break the yolk more often. Anyways. So I did end up shoving. He did end up having aces, and I kind of questioned myself afterwards. Maybe I should have just flatted and given up. Maybe shove flop, because he's not doing that with the hand that I beat. It might sound crazy to play ace king so passively, especially when you have a big stack like I did, but you know, those chips matter. I think his stack was like 95k or something, so 100k. Basically 2.5x starting stack. So on the hand, I lost 2.5 starting stacks when I probably should have lost like 1.2, 1.5. But not the end of the world. We're still, so at that point, I think I had like 600k. That brought me down to 500k or 450k. I was able to work my way back up all the way to 700k. I actually played a really interesting hand where the player had raised under the gun with 10 bigs. I didn't know exactly what he had at the time. One corner, I had ace jack offsuit in the big blind, decided not to just like shove that even though I had, you know, covering stack. Clock came jack, X, I don't remember, low cards, no flush draws, no straight draws. About as good as you can get with ace jack, right? Top pair, top figure. And then the under the gun player just shoved. The rest of it stuck in there, probably like around pot size bet. Other player folded, and I didn't snap call. I actually thought it through for a while, because this player, you too, man. This player was, you know, pretty. I'm going tight. He's pretty solid. But when you kind of think it through, I think 10 bigs pre just shoves ace king, shoves jacks, just like, you know, the hand with the small blind. Think through their stack size, their capability. You know, if they're mostly solid, they should know some of these things. So just like in this hand, he's very unlikely to have ace king, or basically just have any hand that I beat here. I mean, he would even shove ace jack. So this leaves really big pairs, and then maybe he might be the player that's good enough or sophisticated enough to kind of raise fold like king queen or ace 4 suited or something from early position, but he ended up shoving a jack high flop, so probably throw all those hands out. I don't even know what's left, so I ended up just I actually tanked for probably a good minute, and I open folded ace jack, and he instantly showed me queens, so got away from one there. And then shortly after that, I raised ace king, and a pretty spicy player who had me covered. 3-bet out of the small blind. But even when it's a spicy player, when they're 3-betting you out of the blinds, you got to be a little bit more aware that, you know, especially live players, their ranges tend to be a little bit tighter. So we got ace king, but it was actually on the stone bubble. Next player bust, doesn't make it to day 2, doesn't make them in cash. This player actually had me covered. But this is, you know, you kind of always look at the downside. We still had 2 more flights left on the next day, but I ended up busting on this hand. So we ended up just going for the shove in the tank for about 30 seconds. It seemed like a legit tank, so maybe, you know, they probably had something like decently strong, like maybe East Queen Suitor or something. Ended up folding. I got like 100K just on that one hand. So that was pretty fortunate. So I ended up finishing up with 700K. And we got about 10 minutes left until day 2. So we're gonna go get it, 250,000 on top or something like that. So yeah, we're gonna go get it. It's breakfast. Really solid, really good fuel for the day. So thank you for watching. We'll see you at the next one.